Hi, I'm Joe Gerdes, and this is Coffee in the Capitol. Today we are joined by Senator Pat Stefano, representing the 32nd Senatorial District, serving Bedford, Fayette, Somerset, and part of Westmoreland County. He's chair of the Senate Consumer Protection and Professional Licensure Committee. He's also the vice chair of the Transportation Committee. I just wanted to ask you maybe some of your thoughts. How do you communicate with your townships and kind of what your view is of township governance and kind of how they work with you and how they work with the state?
The best way I find to communicate with them is actually go attend their meetings. Somerset's, I will go to a few of their meetings, but I always attend their convention, Fayette's convention, and Bedford's convention. Somerset, when we do theirs, it's the federal, state house, and state senate will sit on a panel, give a highlight, and then we take questions. And they ask questions about where certain pieces of legislation are, and then same with Bedford's.
Senator, I mentioned earlier that you're the vice chair of transportation. We're going to have to make a big decision on how we fund transportation going forward. With the liquid fuels and the gas tax is declining. What are some of your thoughts on how as we look at this transportation question moving forward?
You hit the issue right on the head there. It's declining revenues. Every year, our cars are more efficient. They use less fuel, driving more miles, and inflation costs of repairs and replacement to go up. It's not the two curves that we want to see. So this year we did pass, and it was part of the budget, was to start now charging for the electric vehicles, fully electric and plug-in hybrids. Have to pay a portion, I think, starting at $225 and working its way up and tied to CPI. So at least we're starting to capture them. Is that a significant amount? No, but it's better than nothing. That's the two words I hear the most: liquid fuels. Gotta make sure. And there was a big discussion about coming out of COVID, they were going to suspend the gas tax. And consumers of gasoline, of course, wanted to see that go away, but the supervisors did not, because they knew that would affect their electric vehicles. They're absolutely right. They're taking those few dollars and they're so efficient at using those to maintain their roads. It is critical.
And I just wanted to see if you could share some of your thoughts on what we need to do as a Commonwealth to help better prepare our fire and EMS services here.
The EMS is in crisis. We hear this everywhere, and I'm having problems throughout the district with EMS services not being able to maintain the hours that they need to stay open and be able to have the staff. With declining revenues, increasing costs. Issue, a lot of it is Medicaid doesn't cover. Even though they got a bump in last year's budget, it slowed the bleeding but didn't stop it. So how do we address that issue? And there's a bill that we worked on when I was chair. It is still in session now, this session. I don't think it gets to the finish line, but that's countywide public safety authorities. That's a different way of funding our EMS system. But currently, since that bill isn't going to get across the finish line, doesn't appear to be, I've been meeting with so many of the different groups to look at what can we do to make sure you're still surviving. On the fire side, the issue there is the same: declining volunteers, declining in revenue, increased costs. And I've talked to them about that, because these guys volunteer so much of their time. Most of it is fundraising to protect the people of the community, and I give them great kudos for what they do, because they are very passionate about that. When I've talked to some of them, they work so hard. They don't want the government to come in and tell them what equipment they can and cannot buy, but if the government's going to pay for them, then they have to. So there's the juggle we have. So we're doing little things to help support them, where we give some tax credits and tax breaks on the things that they buy. We're trying to get the online gaming for them,
right?
Helping them make it easier to raise revenue.
I know you've been working on some issues with DEP, and what are some of your thoughts as we move forward with that department?
Projects that they're working on, whether it be their sewage projects or trail development or whatever it is they're working on, it's a simple culvert upgrade. They're delayed constantly by permit delays. That was a question I asked in the budget hearings this year back in February, because the governor put in that new policy, you'll get your money back if you don't get your permit on time. Have you ever given any money back on your permits? The answer was no. But you're still delayed in all your permits. Oh, it doesn't cross over because we reply back all these deficiencies. And that's the one I hear all the time. We get deficiencies after deficiencies. I said, but these are engineers with a PE after their name. They have a license they have to protect. They know what they're doing. And your staff is looking at these without any of those degrees and licenses and telling them they're doing it wrong. So I said, what is it? Why can't you just fix these 3 things and move forward? That's what we talked about when I met with the acting secretary. Get the permit in place, then go check and see how things are coming. That's what you should be doing. I said you should be more outcome-based than worrying about the input, because every engineer does things a little bit differently.
What do you see as priorities for you moving into the new session? Some things that you'd like to see done next session?
Well, we were referring to that countywide public safety authority. I'd like to see more of that done. See if we can't discuss transportation to make sure, I want to make sure that liquid fuels is increased for our supervisors, and make sure that their roads and bridges are taken care of. Call before you dig, 811. I know it's critical for our supervisors as well. You have to go through this process. One of the two, whether the Senate version or the House version, one of those should be done by the end of session. We're going to be continuing in the next session broadband authority and the grants that will be coming out. I know that's critical. We'll be talking a lot about in the next session utility poles and pole attachments, all those things that affect costs in this township.
Well, Senator, want to thank you on behalf of PSATS. You always have an open door to Brian and I when we head over to the Capitol. We look forward to working with you and your staff to help accomplish some of those things at the end of this session and the beginning of that next session. Well, that's all the time we have on Coffee in the Capitol today. Senator, thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you next session.
I want to just throw in real quick. I've always been connected, but your past president from Perry Township, Bay County, A.J. Bonney, make sure that I know everything that's going on. So he keeps me in the loop all the time. So I want to throw a shout out to him and all of his efforts.
And he works, even though he's a past president, AJ is a stalwart and works very hard, not only for his township, but on behalf of all townships across the state. We'll see you back here next week for the next episode of TVN. And remember, subscribe to PSATS YouTube channel, hit the like bell for notifications, follow our social media pages, and head over to the TVN page at psats.org. And as always, thank you for tuning in.